Hey everyone, what happened to Joburg?
The things they don't show you in Joburg. I have searched high and low for something about Joburg that can be positive. Is it the crime? Is it the streets? What is it that makes Joburg what it is? Look guys, come with me on this journey. Let's talk about this today and let's see what we're talking about.
I have searched high and low to try and find something good to tell you about Joburg. Something interesting, something positive that I can talk about with regards to Johannesburg and with regards to what is going on these days. We've done Cape Town, we've done a lot of Cape Town, and I grew up in Gauteng, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that because I'm really struggling to find something positive to talk about with regards to Gauteng and Joburg. When I was growing up, when I was much younger, and this is more than 40 years ago.
The Golden City, South Africa's Johannesburg. 70 years have brought a small township to rank with the world's richest cities.
I mean, I lived in Pretoria at that time. I've also lived in Midrand, the Jays, Pretoria, and we used to enjoy our lives. Everything was spotless, everything was working. A lot like Cape Town is these days. And it was one of those scenarios where we would go out with our mates on a Friday night or during the week and what have you in Pretoria. And on Saturday night, we'd head off to Joburg, head off to Hillbrow, head off to all those clubs up there, head off to all those pubs and all those things to do. And the Saturday night, we would spend the whole night there. We would come back on a Sunday morning and it was safe and it was really enjoyable. Everything was working, everything was clean, everything was fun. Granted, there was the element of it's a bit of a rough joint or whatever the case at the time. But the worst case scenario was you'd get into a fisticuff or something like that. You weren't going to get shot, stabbed, or something equally ridiculous in those days. It just wasn't that bad. It was relatively safe for a lady to walk around the streets by herself. Granted, there were such things in those days as prostitution, as drugs and things like that, but they weren't in your face. And if anybody wanted those types of things, they'd really have to search them out. They weren't that easily available. They weren't in your face. They weren't walking through the streets bothering you or anything to that effect. Things have changed a lot, and it's questionable as to why, or what's happened, or what's gone wrong in society. Is it the way it's run? Is it the way it's controlled? Because I was watching a news article where a guy had come home from America for a short while, and on his trip from Johannesburg International, the old Jan Smuts, and these days as they call it Oliver Tambo, I think that's what they call it these days. The guy took a trip from the airport to Morningside, and he said on that entire trip he did not see one traffic light which was operational. They were all off and it wasn't load shedding scheduled for that time. Now I've spoken to friends that still live up there, friends and family that have said to me in the recent times in Joburg they've been struggling to even get water. Water hasn't been supplied to the homes. They've been having hassles with things like water. This is questionable. What's going on? You know, I've been looking around the internet and I found these things where it's just the city doesn't look like it should. It doesn't look like it's well maintained. There's a lot of crime. Crime has gone through the roof.
For a long time, South Africa has been synonymous with violent crime, but levels have now reached a 20-year high, from murders to car hijackings.
Now, I remember sleeping at night up there, and all I would hear every night would be gunshots. And that for me is concerning because in the 10 years that I've lived in Cape Town, I haven't heard gunshots at night. That's questionable as to why that happens up in Gauteng when you sleep at night. I was up there recently, sleeping at night, gunshots all night again. Why do you hear these things going on? What is wrong with society? What has happened to Johannesburg? There's a little bridge that goes under the highways, and I went there so many times because I'd always somehow try and find my way to the highway. And you know, there's no on-ramp onto the highway there. And if you're driving into Johannesburg, you drive on that highway and you see all these lovely factories either side. But if you're inside Johannesburg and you end up under that bridge, and in those days we didn't have GPS and all these fancy maps and Apple Maps and Google Maps and all the rest of it, you had to figure it out with a book. I'd always end up under those bridges, but never felt unsafe. But if you look at them now, you don't want to be there. It's full of like real bad sort of vibe. You know there's prostitutes there, you know it's a little bit out of the way, but you also know that if you hang around in that area, you're bound to most likely get mugged. I look at the city and I look at it and I think, who's looking after it? What's going on here? Why is it deteriorated to such a point? Why isn't anybody taking care of this? Isn't there a local government that's supposed to look after this besides the national government, which isn't helping? There are buildings being hijacked, entire buildings. In other words, people are moving into these buildings, not paying, and just moving loads of people in, and then not moving out and not paying for it. So the people who own the buildings are effectively losing out, losing money. There's a case where these guys are starting to build little armies to go and get these guys out of there. Private security, private people. So it's becoming sort of gang related if you think about it. So these guys are going in, bailing these guys out of the building so the guy can get his building back. And then they're talking about guys that have lost their property, that have ended up sleeping in their cars because they don't have somewhere to stay. That is on its own a little bit of a real concern. So unfortunately, guys, I haven't been able to find anything good to tell you about Johannesburg. There's so much crime. Look at these guys.
Take it with a gun. What can we do? Only money that I want. Yeah, the people, I will show you with your last born. If you don't want to give me a man, I will show you with your last born. Took him to shower or to the hot shower. I like to show you there I want money.
That's ridiculous. It's unbelievable what the guys are saying and what they're doing in this area, and why has it got to this point? Is it lawlessness? They say that if you stop the lawlessness at a smaller level, for example, someone jumping a stop street, which everybody's doing there, driving on pavements, littering and things like that, you actually find that it leads to bigger crimes and bigger criminals. And maybe if you start stopping it at that level, you might be able to stop the bigger crimes and the bigger issues that we've got in this country. But as I say, so many people are moving to Cape Town from Johannesburg that it's quite concerning. The reason they're doing that is because they feel unsafe in their homes in that area. They don't feel comfortable, they don't feel safe, so they want to move away from it. A lot of people have been immigrating overseas, which is also questionable. At the end of the day, they don't want to live in Cape Town. But I gotta say that at least Cape Town doesn't suffer from those problems as much as that area. Looking at the area, it doesn't look good, it doesn't look comfortable, and it doesn't look nice. But guys, thanks for watching. I know this is a controversial video, very controversial. There's a lot going to be said about it, but I had to tell my story and I had to put it out there because it's kind of bothering me that it looks this way. Thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, watch the last video and bye.